Hey YouTube, welcome back. So today I thought we would have a little chat about the drama circus surrounding Chris Watts and the Viper's Nest of Narcissists. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. I mean, every so often you think, oh, do you know what? They must be getting to the bottom of it now. You see the titles, the breaking news, the this, the... Oh my God, there's been a letter, there's another side chick, there's a new bloody aspect of the discovery that's not been disclosed or nobody's known about till now. There's another method to the madness. There's another bloody conspiracy about how and why he did what he did, right? And I can remember, it must have been last year now, I did a reaction to NK's interviews, right? And I decided not to even edit it. I just left it undone, untouched, and I didn't even bother uploading it because I just thought, is this just going to get completely taken the wrong way? I just like analysing the behaviour. I don't think necessarily she was involved, but I do definitely believe that she was manipulative, and she was manipulating in those interviews, and that she was telling on herself throughout the interviews nothing of any great significance of being involved, which she absolutely did try to absolve herself and distance herself from the relationship and her connection to him, right? Which, yes, anybody would probably want to distance themselves from a killer, someone that they've just woke up and found out killed their family last night, okay? And you've been going on dates with them and sharing a bed with them. But at the same time, you would see the openness and the wanting to be honest and tell everything that you can possibly tell to help the police to solve it, to be clear your name, and to see, like, you would want it all off your conscience, right? She was a mess in those interviews, absolutely. Just so, like, for me, she just went completely out of her way to derail, and some of the aspects of her giving too many details, they weren't necessary details, and then in other areas where she could have given more details and more information, she was purposely vague, and that I found deceptive. But again, I'm not suggesting in any way that deception was in any way towards what happened to CW's family. I think it was more about, because she is a manipulative personality herself, and I do think the chemistry and the synchronicity between those two, they were both trying to manipulate each other, right? That aside, so I wake up today, and MRB's been live, and she's had the Ruseks on the Rusek family on panel, and I mean, I need to get into it. We all know what goes on, right? All the discussions and conversations that take place surrounding CW and what he did, how he did it, which way he did it. Like, it's insanity, okay? So, what I am mind blown at, right? And I'm going to have to pause you to go and get my notebook, because I've left my notebook, right? But I can't believe the naivety and the irony, because you have a whole host of true crime channels, right, that I believe are allowing themselves to be used as tools by a manipulator. CW is nothing other than any other run-of-the-mill type narcissistic personality, right? People argue that he isn't a narcissist, or he's not a covert narcissist, or he wasn't narcissistic, right? I think he absolutely was. These family vloggers say, right, that portray an image that everything inside their home is perfect, their husbands are perfect, their lifestyles are perfect, their children are perfect, their family photographs are perfect, what they eat is perfect, where they go on holiday is perfect, what they drive is perfect, what they buy from the store is perfect, when they go and get a Starbucks coffee, even that's perfect. Everything surrounding these family vlogger style families, there's an air of this OCD perfectionism, right? Now, those families in particular, for me, I find a huge red flag, because they're mimicking and mirroring a representation of what they think in their minds a family should look like, a successful family should look like, right? And that's where you would think that people would see through the mask, because anybody that has had children, or even just looked after their friends' children, you don't necessarily have to have any of your own, or even if you've looked after a puppy, say, right, any kind of animal that requires a lot of yourself, right, in order to care for them. So dogs, right, they require a lot of yourself to care for them, okay? The first 2 years with a puppy is absolute hell. It's a nightmare. They are, for me, they're harder work, more harder work than children, okay? So any kind of living being that takes a lot out of you in order to care for it, to nurture it, and to bring it to its best, right, which you would say for children, and we'll just use dogs for the other example, right, because dogs are the same way. They take a lot out of you, right? Tell me where, if you've ever owned a puppy, as your home ever appeared perfect for days, weeks, months out of the year at a time, okay? You will find that your dog's got themselves into something that they shouldn't have done. They've chewed something, they've found something, they've had a shoe, they've tried to get your dirty underwear, they've been sticking their head in the toilet, they've been doing all this, right? And all those imperfections, though, for dogs, right, they're normal imperfections that show, right, that's typical general behavior that you would typically have to put up with if you were to get a dog, right? If you look at children, right, when children are toddlers and they're learning to get around, right, when they first start crawling, they're absolutely like insane. You have to watch them every second, right? No more just leaving stuff on the floor over there, right, because now they can get to it. Now they can put things to the mouth, okay, and everything's a hazard, everything's dangerous, so you have to be extra vigilant, okay? When they're getting on their feet and they're actually tottering around, walking again, right? When they're trying to, when they're at 6 months old, say, when they start to, you know, they can put things to the mouths themselves to help themselves eat, right? Any of those stages, like the eating, they're starting to crawl around, they're starting to walk, at any of those stages when you're raising a child, what does it bring around your home, right? Is anything perfect while those stages are occurring? It's not, is it, right? And the same with the teething, right? They're biting everything, they're picking up your things, they're shoving everything in their mouth, your favourite lipstick, your favourite bag, your favourite, your top. I mean, everything just goes to their mouth, okay? Nothing is perfect when you have small children, but everything is imperfectly perfect, if you will, right? So when I see all these vloggers and their pristine lives, their perfection, they're trying to show you and focus in so detailed on all this perfection, right? Huge red flag, because nowhere there are children and nowhere there are dogs is there perfection to the degree, this forced, controlled perfection that we see in these vlogging videos. And that's the very thing I think personally that people should find alarming, right? Because you've got all those red flags, because as well as what you can see that is present, nobody's noticing what isn't present, right? Where's the stains on the claws, right? Where's the lopsided grin? You know, because the mum's there, smile, right? I mean, I can remember that. That, for me, so many of those signs in those family vloggers, they're like red flags for me, okay? Because I can track so many of those little traits, gestures, whatever you want to call them, behaviors, right? This performing, right? When you're having your children constantly performing, that's a huge red flag. Say these vloggers, they have the children for performing. The same goes for the 19 Kids and Counting Carry On, right, with the Josh Duggar. Huge red flag, because you are just having your children mimic and mock and mirror as though this is a great wholesome family home, right? When most homes, I would say, are wholesome, healthy, and just a typical family home. So why then, you have to question, for me anyway, Why do they go to the degrees that they do in order to present what they do, right? And if you look at a lot of those family vloggers, the way they take up their entire children's childhood in order to present a perfect image to an outside world of strangers, I don't know how people don't see that as a red flag. Okay, now if you go and you with the CW house, the perfection things there, right? The perfection signs. For me, those perfection signs are a red flag. Okay, now I am not saying what they are a red flag for. I am not even going to, like, I'm not going to run away with that thought, but it doesn't necessarily mean that things are perfect. And a lot of people, right, I think when people are looking at that case and they're so mind fucked over how could Chris do this, right, they're looking at the house, how immaculate the house was, and they're struggling to put it together. But people like covert narcissists, they're all about outside image and things appearing perfect to the outside world. They're very controlled and precise with what kind of face they want to put forward. All right, so it's best face forward all the time. Now, when you saw her SR on her lives, her Facebook lives and things, I did see lots of elements of imperfection, which were perfection, right? Because you saw the kids misbehaving, her not necessarily getting it right? She'd just have to jump off the live if she couldn't, manage them. If they were creating while she was trying to engage her audience there, right? So I noticed with her, right, even like, and then people say about her that she was abusive, right? This is why I need to go and get my notebook, because they say, oh, you can pick up the signs and faint tells of her abusiveness, right? Now, codependency, this is a theory I've run around with myself in my own head. It's only my own. It isn't true. It isn't real, okay? But a lot of us have issues with codependency, right? Not feeling we're enough, not feeling worthy enough, not loving ourselves enough, not caring about ourselves enough, not practicing self-care, right? Not being goal-driven, self-sabotaging, things like that, right? Now, some of these people and some of the slights that they've picked on SR for in order to call her abusive, and in somehow, right, because there are people out there that have somehow managed to lay some of the blame for her own murder at her feet. This is what I want those people in particular to consider, right? If you're a woman and you've gone out and you've bought several pairs of shoes behind your partner's back, right, and you've run in through the house and left them in the boot of your car, or you've waited for a quiet moment to get them out of the boot of your car and you've snuck them in the house, put them away in your wardrobe as if they've always been there. If you're a woman that's ever done that, right? If you've ever lied by omission when your partner said to you, all right, how much did you spend while you were out shopping with the girls, right? And you spent 200 quid and you just say to him, because he never sees your bank balance, how's he going to know anyway? And you say to him, oh, just 100, right? That's abusive. If you've ever been a partner that snuck in new items that you've bought for yourself, right, and hidden that from your partner, you're abusive, right? If you've lied, oh, you've bought makeup, right? You've bought all your makeup this particular day. Husband gets in from work. Oh, have you done anything today? No, not much. You've not done anything really, right? Oh, have you not got yourself anything nice? Not done anything. And you choose to not tell him that, you've replenished a lot of your makeup and you've bought more expensive brands this time. You're being abusive. You know why? Because manipulation is abusive in nature, right? And if you're withholding the truth or lying by omission, and it's to the person that you apparently love most and more out of the whole world, right? And you're lying by omission, hiding what you're buying, right? Smuggling it into your room or your wardrobe without your partner seeing, right? You're abusive, okay? Does that mean you deserve to be murdered, hurt, harmed, and have your children? What happened to hers, right? So all these nut jobs, right, that like to toy with that theory that she was in some way abusive and that somehow put her where she was to be hurt the way she was and have happened to her children the way it did, right? You are insane. You are insane, because those slights, tells and traits, because I've seen them, everyone's watched the videos, right, or did do, they were subtle, right? And there was nothing in those traits that I could determine myself, and again, I'm nobody that knows anything, right, that demonstrated that she was abusive. And a lot of women, right, tackle it as a worldwide problem, a phenomenon that is absolutely sickening, actually, right? But if you want to tackle her for the way she might have put him down around the camera, right, an audience, right, or the way people say that she emasculated him, look around, because I am in a community, right, this community, the DC, TC, whatever community that we're all in, that we all frequent in and out from, right, the amount of videos and lives, I can't tell you how many times I have been in a chat listening and heard whoever the host is, the way that they reference their partner while their partner's not there, right? No different to what she may have said. No different, right? And a lot of that, you know, it stems from toxic femininity, right? It's like, oh, because I'm a woman, it means I have a right to buy whatever makeup I want and I don't have to tell him, right? Because I'm a woman, I can buy whatever shoes I want and sneak them in my wardrobe and not tell him. But when he buys something, I have to know how much it cost, how many he got, right? And it all has to sit straight with me, right? But when I buy something, I do it on the sly. I sneak it in the house. I keep it in the boot of my car. I just put it away in my makeup bag, right? I know so many women like that. So many women like that. And it's gross. It's gross. And I'd picked up those behaviours myself subconsciously from my own parent. Because back in my early teens or early 20s, right? Early 20s, I mean, right? And when I started having relationships, I was doing those same things. And it took me until my mid to late 20s to start recognizing what I'm doing actually isn't all right. But I had never even questioned it before, because I'd witnessed my mother do it to my stepdad, right? The lying and the sneaking shit around, sneaking stuff in the house. Like, she'd just buy new ornaments, right? And just put them on the shelf, and she'd just laugh and say, yeah, he won't notice. As though that made it okay, right? And these ornaments, they'd be like nearly 200 quid or something. And if she bought 2 a month, does he not have a right to know that she's blowing 400? And then when he would say he's going out with the boys on a Friday night, she's pulling her face because he's taking 50 quid with him, right? How is that not messed up? Anyway, I'm just trying to balance out some of this abuse talk that people keep trying to throw at her in order to suggest in some way that she brought on her own death. I don't agree with it. I think it is sickening, right? Absolutely sickening. And then, so I caught some of MRB's live, and she had them on panel and in the chat, right? And I mean, I don't care if you like that family or you don't. What is happening to that family, for me personally, it is sickening, right? When your body and your mind has gone through a trauma, okay, you keep your body in those early days after it keeps reliving that trauma. Your body's in a really bad triggered state, okay? When it's something like this, like a murder, and it's not just your daughter, which would be heinous enough, right? It's your grandbabies, right? That kind of trauma and that kind of scarring, right? I don't imagine that leaves you alone, ever. So anytime I see this family over the last, was it 2018? So over the last couple of years, anytime, like they've never been allowed to get any peace or any time and space from what happened to even now, right? Because people keep allowing themselves to be, and this is the most disgusting part. Hold on. Right, I'm back. So this is the most disgusting part, right? They are allowing themselves to be manipulated, right, by an ultimate covert narcissist. Nothing more and nothing less, right? So when I keep hearing that they're hanging off his every word, right, and it's like they're really digging deep into these conspiracies about this happened. There's pings, right? There's missing pings off a log. There's missing. Apparently, NK was messaging him the whole time he was on his way to survey, and there's no discovery on them. There's this, whatever, and the other that's missing, right? And he's cool. He's smart. I don't mean he's cool as in he's a cool person. I mean he's cool and on the ball with it all, right? Because he's the one, right, sat here orchestrating all of it, okay? Like covert narcissists, I think, like people like to look at him and think he looks like a normal man. He seems shy, right, and detached. That's a perfect covert narcissist. That's exactly what they are. That was like the one I dated. That was how they were. That was how my stepdad was, right? That was how in the community of survivors of narcissists, because there's an entire hundreds of thousands full of us community, right? There's a huge community of us survivors of narcissists, specifically covert narcissists, on YouTube and on Twitter, right? He fits exactly all our other ex-covert narcissists, right? That type, right? That shy, coy, trying to be a bit coy, right? Not quite so sure of themselves, doesn't seem to have too much confidence. Oh my God, like they annoy me so bad, right? So for me, I've never seen, like, I don't see anything other than what he is. And covert narcissists are about pushing and withholding simultaneously. The very thing they know you need from them, they will withhold. And I can remember, and this is going back, so don't quote me, I can remember there being a release of the text messages of SR's text messages to her friend. And the things she was talking about and describing to me, she was describing narcissistic abuse. She was describing what we've all described in our respective communities, but never knew at the time what we were describing, right? Because you don't know. You're just you're confused, you're upset, you're hurt, you're in love, you want to sort your relationship out, because they all do that. They all meet somebody else. They all start devaluing you, right? Giving you the cold shoulder. They stop being affectionate with you, but then they're telling you, they're giving you double messages at the same time, right? Yeah, I don't want to walk away. But then when you go to hug them or you look to them for some intimacy, they shut you down, right? They cruelly shut you down and they enjoy it. But the pushing side of things, they enjoy pushing and pushing the pressure, right? The frustration, the upset. They enjoy pushing you as far to the edge as they can get you to go, right? And if that means suicide, then it means suicide. A true covert narcissist can push you to suicide and beyond. They live for that, because ultimately, most of them, not all, most of them are too cowardly to do it themselves, and because they know they can't get away with it. So what better way than to completely scramble your brain and have you do it for them? That's the ultimate. And then when you've gone, they get to play the ultimate victim, telling everybody how amazing you were and how you tried and how troubled they were, and you know, you did your best to help them, and now you've been left with a gaping hole everywhere, and you know, and then they're getting all the supply and attention from your death, right? So I have never seen that guy as anything other than what he is, right? Because a lot of, like, I heard talk saying that they believed Chris to be on the spectrum and they wanted a psychiatrist or a psychologist to see him and stuff like that, right? But that's how covert narcissists come across. The true covert, inverted, vulnerable narcissist, the shy narcissist, that's how they come across. They come across as you think that they're that they do have those tendencies to be that way, because I can remember someone once asking me, how do you understand, how would you tell the difference between somebody who just has some mild autistic traits, for example, or how would you tell the difference between a narcissist, right? Well, with the narcissist, you're always going to get the patterns of manipulation. An autistic person, if they're struggling to communicate or explain to you how they feel about things, that you will see that throughout. It won't just be a pattern of insidious abuse that is hurting you, right? You won't see the blame shifting necessarily to the point, like if it was your partner, say, you would see that there's some understanding and there's that you would see proof of the love. But with a covert narcissist, you will have the games and you'll have this continuous repeated cycle of love bombing you. You can do no wrong, right? To the devaluing you, right? Where they start ghosting you and blowing hot and cold, and then the discarding, and then you would get the hoovering where they circle back to see, can they still are you still within their grasp, right? And then they go through it all again. They'll love bomb you, but then the love bombing typically lasts less and less. Like sometimes they will literally love bomb you for 3 days, right? Keep bombarding you with texts, attention, sending gifts, flowers to your house, right? And as soon as they've got through that front door and you've taken them into the kitchen, made them a cup of coffee, and you're like, okay, then what do you want to talk about? Okay, well, I'll think about giving it another go. You won't hear from them for 6 months. They'll be out the door again. They'll have disappeared, right? Back to the new supply. They just wanted to walk back in to see if they could get one over you again, right? And they could. And once they see that they can, they know that I've still got that backup fuel source there, right? Now I can go on my merry way and feel okay that this person isn't going to move on, be happy, and outliving her best life. She's going to be here, depressed, mourning the loss of losing me again, right? Therefore, stuck, trapped, and they've still got their hook in you, right? So for me, I've never seen him as anything other than what he is, because he, in those text messages, how she was talking about their relationship, I was like, God, she's not just describing some argument. He is blowing hot and cold with her. I mean, he's been sleeping with her up to the point that, you know, she was pregnant, right? But then he started this affair. I mean, I felt like he was the manipulator, okay? And whenever you clocked him back to this, everything looking perfect, you see, you saw her getting frustrated with the children occasionally, right? Or trying to get them to kotor and make way for the camera while she wanted to stream her life, okay? I'm not getting into the rights and wrongs of that. That part is none of my business. I'm not interested. But so I didn't see it was him. You like, if she would scan the camera around to him, right? He was always there, wasn't he, like this with the kids, right? Or if he was in the bathroom when she was putting something on his face, right? See, my ex would do that, right? He would agree to do something for me or with me, right? But then when it would come to him actually doing it, he'd just be that bored or that not into it, right? You would just give up and excuse them, allow them to excuse themselves. Like if he'd ever come to my family's at Christmas, on Christmas Day, right? He would fall asleep or start saying, well, you know, I don't know if I really want to go, or, you know, I'm tired, and why do I need to come? It's your family, blah, 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 right? Trying to throw all kinds of different obstacles in the way to get out of it. Or if there was no way to get out of it, they just make sure to do a crappy job. And I saw him do that around the home on that camera too. So why wasn't that being scrutinized? Anyway, right, I think I'm losing where I'm going with this. My main thing of this is, I cannot believe, or should I say I can believe, that one covert narcissist, in my humble opinion, has an entire community online, right, going at each other. They are clambering over themselves to be the first one to share this next puzzle piece of information in relation to CW, who I am here to say is no more interesting than a grey rock, okay? He has absolutely zero personality, zero. If he has nobody to mirror, mimic, or like emulate, right, there's nothing within him, right? Even on the things that I have heard him say, he you know, like how when you would go, like back in the day when people would say suspicious about psychics, how psychics get things right, it's because they ask questions and they kind of feel their way around with your reactions, right? And then they adapt to their answer to what they're picking up that is suiting your body language or what you are and what you aren't saying, right? And I get that vibe from him. He like feels his way around, tries to touch on what he thinks you want to hear. Say, for example, when he keeps saying he can't remember, or he thinks he did it, right? Or he was hypnotized, right? Half of this, I mean, he's manipulating people, okay? He's manipulating people. He does not in any way believe he was hypnotized. He is still being the narcissist, trying to manipulate people, right? He's taking a bit of ownership, but then at the same time throwing blame shifting, right? Yeah, well, I think it was me. Well, it could have been, but I think I was hypnotized, right? I can't remember it, but I can remember she was messaging me the whole time on the way to survey. I am mind blown by the amount of manipulation going on here, all from one guy behind bars inside a prison across a pond for a lot of us, right? And he is still manipulating, right? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands at this point of people into believing that there's more to this case, right, than there really is. When really, right, there's one sick POS, okay, that wanted to be with his new side piece, okay, didn't want the expense and the baggage of them, right? For me, it's as cold and as callous as that, okay? He was a manipulator. From as whatever I read at the beginning of the case, he, I believe in her words, he approached her. And she likes to say, sorry, that you know, she wasn't in a good place. I think she must have been having health problems when he started contacting her, right? Same story, right? My ex was a narcissist from Facebook, okay? I wasn't in a good place when they started contacting me. Mine, guess what mine did, right? I decided I was going on an aid trip to Syria, right? And my ex-covert narcissist, when I got stuck at the border at Syria, right? When I got stuck at the border, I had nothing but my passport, all my luggage, my trainers, my hair, stuff, my clothes, my underwear, my medication, my money. Everything I owned was on the other side of the border, and I was on the opposite side, right? I had nothing. So I get myself back to safety somehow, okay? And while I'm trying to work out my next move, what am I going to do, right? Because I'm stuck. At some point over a couple of days, my ex-covert narcissist flew out to Turkey, right, to rescue me, okay? Bought me new hair straighteners, bought me supplies, sanitary items, right? Deodorant. He helped me with absolutely everything. Let me wait until the rest of my crew came back out of Syria, right, and then flew me home. We spent 2-3 days in Istanbul on the way home, right? So we was in Antakya in Turkey, then we went to Istanbul in Turkey, and then when everybody came out of Syria, we flew back home, right, to Manchester, right? All that way, all that way. He paid for it all because I had nothing, okay? He was a knight in shining armour, the ultimate knight in shining armour. And that's exactly when a covert narcissist will approach a partner, right? Or to start make some connection, because whenever you're vulnerable, right? So there's certain times in your life that you should never consider meeting or taking on a new partner, right? They are when you're on holiday, right? When you're moving, when you've just gone through a divorce, a death, a loss of some kind, or you're going through some serious financial burdens, right? Because that vulnerability, they zero in on that vulnerability. My vulnerability, see, when I was traveling, I thought I was in like the best health of my life. Like I was like, what would I have been, about 36, right? I think, right? The best shape of my life. I'd been working out before because I knew I had to carry this huge bloody rucksack. I knew I'd have to walk for bloody miles and all kinds of stuff. The terrain was rough, right? It was going to be really hot. So I'd been taking care of myself months, weeks before this trip, right? To prepare for it mentally and physically. So I was confident in myself. I was working, going to the gym, right? Had a social life, took my kids out for days out, right? So I overestimated myself, kind of, right? Because I thought I was okay. He wasn't the danger that I was looking for. I was looking for other dangers, right? And he wasn't one of them. I missed him. He got by my radar. And the way he got by my radar is because he knew that when you are in a foreign country, automatically, that's a vulnerability, because you're everything that you know, right? Everything that you know is different. It's what you don't know now, because you're in an unfamiliar place, right? So even though you might not feel vulnerable, you might feel confident in a different country, going about your business, right, and mixing with the locals or whatever, it's still a vulnerability, right? And what are narcissists known for? They're known for zeroing in on vulnerabilities, and that's how he got mine. And he tailor-made, like they do, the love bombing, right, to suit me. He showed a keen interest in humanitarian work in Syria, right, in other places of interest for me. He flew out, right, and he was messaging me on the trip while I was, and we were only like Facebook friends. There was nothing at all. Never even had a phone call with this guy, right? And he ingratiated himself succinctly, okay? And I missed him, but at the time I was learning about narcissism and studying, and was trying to understand my family dynamics. And 18 months to 2 years in, I'd gone into this research looking for family dynamic answers, right? But it ended up taking me back to my first abusive relationship, right? And I started learning about all the behaviours that had gone on in there, and my participation in that abuse, and where my responsibility, the line of my responsibility was, and where I was indeed a victim of it, right? So as I've done the family tracking back, completely by accident, I start discovering all this stuff about how abuse from your family sets you up for abuse with a partner. Okay, so as I've learned about my family dynamics, it takes me to my first relationship, which was a 10-year relationship with an abuser, right? So while I start learning about all of that, and I'm simultaneously dating another covert narcissist, right, without realizing, and because I didn't even know what the first one had been, right? I had no clue. I hadn't even gone looking for any of that. So as I start researching and learning all this side of my past, I start seeing the red flags that I'm learning about in this guy I'm dating, right? And I gaslit myself. How long? A year? I gaslit myself for a year, right? Why would he have flown all the way out to Syria, paid for my flight home, right? Bought me new hair straighteners, underwear. I mean, I had no supplies. When I say I had no supplies, it was the time of the month I had no supplies, right? I had no bras. When I say I had nothing except what I was stood up in, that's it, okay? And a little bag with my passport in, that is it. Everything was inside Syria. He rescued me, bought anything and everything I needed. He also paid for my food, made sure I ate, right? Made sure I had accommodation, and he looked after me, right? So for a whole year, I gaslit myself how am I seeing these red flags in him? Right, hold on. So for a whole year, I gaslit myself. How am I seeing these red flags in him when he's the guy that flew all the way out to Syria and literally saved my life, right? I must be paranoid. I must have daddy issues. I must be projecting, right? I must be this, I must be that, I must be, right? I am mental, I must be mental. So after a year of telling myself I'm mental, the signs and red flags and the abuse stepped up a notch, and it did get worse until it was absolutely in my face, undeniable. And I was like absolutely soul destroyed, so upset, because I couldn't believe, right? I had a 10-year relationship. I did about 6 years single, really got to know myself, or thought I did, really started doing the self-work and the getting the education to understand abuse and the terminology and how it appears and how it shows up in behaviours, right? Because it's easy someone saying, oh, they're a sociopath because they're antisocial, but how does an antisocial personality disordered individual behave when they're in a relationship with you? How do you know that that's what you're dealing with, right? So I really did so much, and still it's not so much now that I research, but it comes up and I may leave comments somewhere, or obviously I talk about it on my channel, because I want my channel to be, I don't know, somewhere where I just think it would be a great idea for my channel, that because it can be somewhere that I can leave me for my children if anything ever were to happen in the future, right? What kid wouldn't want aspects of their parent on camera? I know there's people in my life that I've lost that I wish I had them on video to see them again, or what they were like and whatever. So anyway, right, and I want to, all the stuff I want to tell my kids that they're quite, you know, they're not maybe ready for me to talk to them about just yet. Like, what I just have a worry as a single parent. I think a lot of single parents do, actually, though. You have a worry that you're not going to get to impart, or something might happen to you and there's no other family, right? So who's going to, what, you know, like if something happened to me tomorrow, who is going to help my kids to be the best that they can be when there's no longer me there, right? And who's going to keep them safe, and who's going to protect them? Well, for me, one of my obvious sensitivities is toxic behavior, toxic people, and abusive behavior. And I want them, right, to, I never want my children, I take this ending the cycle bullshit seriously. I never want my children to be in this kind of a cycle. I want them to head it off right at the throat, at the very first signs of it, if it ever shows up. I want them to have all the knowledge available to them of how you spot healthy people versus toxic versus unhealthy, right? So I want that's the main thing for me, okay? That when they start making relationships, which one, you know, she's off to college later this year, she's going to be going off out into the world, forging her own adult relationships to some degree, right? So I want her to be smart, right? And what a better place than to leave a whole tank of knowledge on my channel. Anyway, right? So these covert narcissists, that's how they operate. They come across as very shy, right? They come across like they struggle to show emotion. So they come across like they have issues demonstrating emotion. And to the untrained eye, and by untrained, I mean, I have lived with one for 38 years and the other one for 10 years and had them in my life 20 to 40. I'm 42 now, right? And every so often, sporadically, they still come back in touch, right? So I'm quite clued in with the behaviours. I can say that confidently, right? They do come across that they struggle to express emotion, right? And you could need the simplest of things saying to you by a covert narcissist, and they will find a way to make it difficult. And they will keep saying, oh, I just don't know how to explain myself. I do love you, I really do, but I just don't know how to explain myself, right? But then they'll do other mean stuff, right, that contradicts that, okay? And it's those kinds of signs you have to look for, the words not matching the actions. So they'll be saying, oh, you know, well, I do really love you, I just struggle to articulate it, right? All right, then we'll write something nice down in a card then. Write how you feel about me or the things you love about me in a card, right? They can't do it. They can't do it unless it's mirrored, copied, faked somehow, okay? So for me, he's never presented as this nice guy type that's on the spectrum, that just has some, you know, shy, coy issues. No. The two don't tally, right? Because he takes care of his appearance, the way he dressed, right? For someone that's, no, it just the whole package just doesn't go together. But you know what? I am going totally off topic. This was just supposed to be talking about. It was just supposed to be a chat and a rant about the fact that one man in a jail cell has manipulated an entire community, and the way that he's managed this covert narcissist, right, with sociopathic traits, the way he's done it, right, is by utilizing our narcissism, right, our own narcissism, and it's been used and turned against us, right? Because if you look at how a lot of people handle this story and this case, right, they're quite bullheaded about it, right? And like their desire to want themselves to be the one that finds the missing key or the missing link or the missing thing that pulls everything in this story together so it does make sense, right? Which, by the way, to me, it does make sense. It already does make sense. But they're heavily seeking, though that's the impression I get, they're seeking this key that's going to tie and wrap the whole case up with a bow, right? For me, it's already been wrapped up. The guy's in prison, right? He did it. And instead of people, right, holding him to account and letting the rest of society do what we're supposed to do with killers, abusers, and that type of personality, which is absolutely ghost the fuck out of him, ignore him, and let him wither away, right? No, we do the opposite with him. We reward him with more and more attention. I mean, I read somewhere that he was getting sackfuls of mail inside the prison from people, and there was some kind of ban. I don't even know if it was true though, but it was believable that that people from over the pond can't write to Chris Watts because he's getting that much mail and it's causing that much chaos. Only American citizens can write to him, I believe, right? But don't quote me. So you've got one guy in a prison cell manipulating thousands and thousands and thousands of people, mostly women, right? And if you go back to what's he called, the serial killer, oh my god, I can't think of his name, shit, but a big serial killer, Bundy, right? They had women the same, fawning, right? For me, we're in this culture of society right now, this time frame of culture in society, I think that's the right way to put it. We've got fawning culture, right? What's fawning culture? Fawning culture, look at so many of these drama channels that are actually abusive. It's not drama, it's abuse, right? They're verbally abusing other people constantly, day after day, every time they fire up a live, right? And yet they've got streams full of individuals filling their chats up, right? And and if you watch what they're typing, they're not typing to the host, calm, hey, calm down, you're going a bit too far, or maybe it's not a good time to be online if you're going to be shouting, right? Maybe come back online later. No. While the host is verbally abusing or directing this abuse at whomever, okay, the chat, right, will be fawning to this toxic behavior. They will be normalizing it, okaying it, making it okay, and they will as well jump onto attacking the person that the host is directing her abuse at, right? That's a fawning. It's like, well, it's a fawning culture because I can't not see it. It's everywhere. It's everywhere online. Absolutely everywhere online. You've got people fawning to toxic behavior. So picture this. If your dad or your mum came in from work, right, and they had a super psycho look on the face, right, you knew, didn't you, to get out of the way. You'd get out of the way. Or if you were me, you'd say, Mum, do you want me to make you a cup of coffee? Do you want anything? Are you all right? Why don't you go and sit outside? The sun's shining, right? Oh, I'll let the dog out. I'll take the dog out. You start all this fawning type behaviour, right? When there's some kind of fear that there's an impending verbal assault possibly coming, right? People start fawning to that behaviour. And typically, codependent personalities especially will fawn to that type of behaviour. And instead of holding the person giving it out to account and holding them responsible for it, instead, right, they will look, which is what I would do, right? If my mum was being abusive to my sister, right? If my mum was being abusive to my sister as kids, right? I wouldn't be like looking at my mum like, why are you being so horrible to my sister and abusing her, right? I would look to my sister and I'd be like, it's your fault because you're the one making her mad, right? You're the one making her mad. I was a kid, right? But that same style of behaviour is the psychology in a lot of these communities on YouTube. You've got abusive YouTubers being verbally abusive, right? And it's normalised by the chat, and they fawn to the toxic behaviour. And instead of noticing the red flags or being detached enough, right, to have some thought before the feelings, right, because they just like to feel before they think instead of think before you feel, they kowtow to the host being abusive and attack whoever's made them mad. But in doing that, if you're angry at somebody for making you mad, what are you doing there, right there? You're blame shifting and taking responsibility away from ourselves for the way that we feel. We are responsible for the way we feel. We are accountable for the way we feel and the things that we do. We are, right? You don't get to say, well, they shouldn't have made me mad. How juvenile is that to even say that? So in these communities of CW, you've got this abusive behaviour going on, this insane, insidious, abusive behaviour. A lot of it directed towards the victims, right? The family of the victims. They're all victims. And if they have a problem, if they want to be upset about the treatment that they've been on the receiving end of, they get attacked for being upset at the way they've been treated, right? But they are, I mean, I just don't agree with this treating victims' families. You see the same stuff going on in the Cash Gernan case, right? There's that young lad, Cameron Morey, right? And what is he, 18? Have your thoughts that maybe there's more to the story, okay? Cast your own doubt. But when you're on a panel and you've got hundreds of people in your chat, it's time to wake up to the fact that you now have some responsibility over governing and which direction you decide to lead all those highly emotional people. You have got so many people in true crime that just should not be in true crime. I'm sorry to say that. No, they shouldn't be in true crime. They are too emotional. It's just emotional thinkers gravitating towards emotional subjects. And what else do you find around emotional subjects or vulnerable people? You find narcissistic types, abusive types, sociopathic types. That community of Chris Watts, right? This whole where this lies, okay? It is full of narcissists. Don't ask me to start pointing out who's who. I'm just saying that entire Chris Watts fuckery load of shit, right, is just a viper's nest of narcissism. You've got the one in prison, Chris Watts, okay, and then other monsters recognize other monsters' games, okay? So other monsters will go and help other monsters because of that very reason. They recognize the game and they will go and help the other monsters. Some different monsters will avoid the game, okay, and steer clear of it. But a lot of monsters gravitate towards other monsters. And by that, I mean, like, people will just assume that there's just one narcissist. No, there's never just one narcissist. There's always several together. They work together, okay? And these toxic personalities, I don't care if you think I'm insane. I don't care. So I do think that's what you've got with the CW whole load of chaos, okay? calm, healthy people, right? If people are calm and healthy, situations for the most part are calm and healthy. If you go and observe how somebody like Gray Hughes, now I don't agree with it, how he's thinking all the time, okay? I don't think he's a perfect guy on a perfect platform, but I'm just saying, the way he handles true crime, I think if you're going to be talking about things like death, child murder, what's the word? You know, where some attacks are frenzied, very gruesome, should I say, right? Gruesome crimes, where there's going to need to be some sensitivity, or there should be some sensitivity. How would true crime not be a subject where if you were going to cover it, you would automatically know in your healthy brain of logic and reasoning that it requires sensitivity and tact and a calm, critical, objective thinking kind of mind. You look at a lot of the Cash Gurnan situation. It's emotional, dramatic, chaotic, histrionic, right? Over the top. And the dangerous thing for that Cameron is he's 18, right? And everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Okay, we'll stick with that. So say that he does have issues taking drugs, okay, and that's his lifestyle. Does that mean that he deserves at 18 to have hundreds upon thousands of people on the internet put it out there blatantly that he may be involved in this child's murder when the police haven't even hauled him in for questioning or done anything? Like, I try and imagine if that was my daughter that had stayed over at someone's house and this heinous thing happened, and then the very next day a load of losers on the internet with nothing better to do start bringing a whole load of histrionics and emotion. I mean, if you're every crime is upsetting, right, and emotional and awful to read about, but that's the difference between people like Gray Hughes, for example, and a lot of the others, true crimers, whether you like them or you don't, but they keep themselves, if they can't keep themselves on an even keel, okay, they knock it off. And I think that's the secret to this. To be good at something, you need to be good at keeping your cool, right? You need to be good at keeping yourself in check, holding yourself accountable, and being sensitive. You're talking about death and child murder, and you don't know why there needs to be some sensitivity, or why you should be careful in who you're pointing fingers at, linking to that crime. Because if you was linking my 18-year-old child to something like that, I'd have your head. I'd have your head. And you know what? Part of me, I know it's mean, but part of me just wishes all these people involved in these true crime, terrible, awful stories that are involved in what's going on right now, the drama, the blame, the laying blame and trying to tie other people into crimes and saying it's this, like even NK, right? I believe she was manipulative as AF, okay? But as in responsible for the deaths, the murders, look, the family say they've got the killer behind bars. The police say they've got the killer behind bars. He did do it. He did do it. He knew where they were, okay? Even if you listen to that recording that was put out last night, right? He's doing the half. He's trying to, he wants you to know that he did it, but he doesn't want to say he did it, right? Because he can't, right? Narcissists live in a fantasy land. They're delusional. If you were to say to a narcissist, did you have a Mars bar or a Snickers bar? Okay, they would lie to you about which one they had. If you asked them, did you have a fried egg sandwich or a fried bacon sandwich, which one did you have? They would lie about which one they had. That is what narcissists do. They can't tell the truth ever because their thinking is disordered. So as they think and as they speak, it comes out, it comes through this disordered mind. So people like saying, oh, well, you know, he's having memory issues about the murder. He can't remember. He thinks something happened to him. He thinks he was drugged, right? They're all blame shifting excuses. He did it. He did it. And you're letting a man, like when I touched on Bundy before, right? How many fans did he have? It was sick. And you're doing the same for this narcissist. You are offering yourselves up as mantles, right? Because while he's in there, he will have to sustain his own, narcissists have to sustain their own equilibrium, okay? They can't, just hang on.